Start at any time? Oh my goodness. Let's do it. I appreciate you. Okay. All right. Welcome to the Beyond the Limits podcast, where we live beyond limits because limits are merely illusions. I am your host, Jasmine Dominique, and I am so excited to be sharing this podcast with you all. This is podcast number one of many to come, and I plan on pouring my heart, my soul, my vibes, my juju, all of that good stuff into this podcast because guess what? You all deserve the best. Okay. Remember, here we live beyond the limits because the limits are merely illusions. And I am going to start each podcast with a quote, an inspirational quote that inspires me and that hopefully inspires you all. And the quote that I am sharing today is from my mama. And the quote is, do it. Simply put, do it. Make it happen. My mom, who is now my angel, my ancestor, was an incredible being who did not like to hear the word no. She never took no for an answer. She always found an avenue or a path to make something happen. So shout out to all the great moms out there that just inspire us to be the best versions of ourselves. I love you, mama. And this one is for you. Now, before we get into it, I want to take a moment to just pause. Okay. All right. Before we get started, let's just take a moment to ground ourselves. And you can do this if you are in your car, if you are in your bed, if you are at work, no matter where you are. Just take a moment right now in this moment to ground yourself. And let's just take a few deep breaths in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in deeply and release. And breathe in, breathe from your core. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. And release. And one last time, breathe in deeply. And release. And remember that all that we have right now is this moment. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow ain't even here yet. All that we have is this moment. So embrace this moment. Didn't that feel good? Now let's get into it. I want to talk a little bit to you all about my inspiration for doing this podcast. It has been a long time coming. I have rested on the idea for quite some time because if you know me, you know I'm a chill, private person. Like, don't nobody know my business out here in these streets. Sometimes people think they do, but nobody knows my business. But it's time for me to share parts of my journey and parts of my story because this journey is not all about me. So this podcast is about sharing stories and inspiration and empowerment. We're going to have some one-on-one time. I want to talk one-on-one with you. I want to get to know you. I want you to get to know me a bit better, but I'm also going to bring on some guests, some amazing, powerful, inspiring, wonderful guests that are forces of light in this world. And these guests will come to share stories, inspiration, resources as well, because here we are all about evolving, becoming a higher and better version of ourselves. So we're going to spend some time alone, just me and you, boo. But again, I'm always going to bring on some guests too to share their light with you all. This podcast is a safe space. All right. Let me say that again. Okay. This podcast is a safe space, which means that everybody can show up here being exactly who you are. No judgment, no criticism. You are welcome as you are. And I'll tell you why I wanted to share that with you all. I'm grateful for the virtual world. I appreciate everything that the virtual world is giving everyone opportunities to do right now. But I also notice a trend in the virtual world, and it concerns me sometimes. You know, I feel that it gives people that are unhealed the opportunity to hurt other people or to judge or to condemn other people. And I'm guilty of judging too. I ain't no saint, right? But I feel like it's important to still have safe spaces in the virtual world where we can just be ourselves, okay? I don't like adult bullies. If you show up to this podcast being a bully, you're going to get kicked out, okay? This is all about love and light and inspiration and supporting each other along our paths, because being a human ain't always easy, y'all. So we need safe spaces that we can go to so that we can receive the love and the support that we deserve. All right. So again, this podcast is a safe space. Show up as you are, be who you are, and know that you are loved and valued being who you are. Okay. We're going to talk about all topics ranging from mental health, spiritual health, financial health, leisure, travel, relationships, fitness, dance. We're going to talk a little bit about sex and sexuality, all of that good stuff, baby. That's a part of health and wellness too, okay? We're going to get into all of it and just have a really good time while we do it. I want this space to be an open space where you can share your commentary. I will be reading and sharing what you all share, so please feel free to share because your voice matters. Your thoughts, they matter as well. So this is a hub where people can come to receive the drive, the push, the inspiration that they need to continue their paths, because we all need that. Anyone who has ever tried to make it on their own never made it. We all need support. We all need love. And that's what this podcast, again, is all about. I noticed another trend, and this trend inspired me to do this podcast. So I noticed this new thing about, well, maybe it's not new, but this pressure to just fit a certain mold, right? To look a certain way, to sound a certain way, to present yourself a certain way in the virtual world. And man, that's exhausting. It's exhausting to constantly be living your life in a manner with the idea or the premise behind doing what you do to please other people, right? And what we must remember, I think, about the virtual world is that it's an illusion. It's not reality. It's an illusion. And my hope is that this podcast reminds us to, let's play around in the virtual world and use the resources that the virtual world offers, because there are a lot of great resources out there. But I want to utilize this podcast as a platform to remind people to stay close to what is natural, to stay close to what is real, right? To stay close to the people that love us, our roots, where we come from, all of the lessons that have made us who we are, to stay close to what is real. Because I'm telling y'all, if we get too far away from what is natural, we will lose touch with ourselves. We will lose touch with God, right? So this podcast is all about staying near what is authentic, okay? Okay, so let's get into it. Ooh, shoot. I guess it's about that time to spill a little tea about my life. And I'm just going to go for it. This podcast, I'll be completely transparent for you. This podcast is going to heal me. And so in the midst of hopefully inspiring other people to heal, because I can't heal you. I am nobody's healer. I think that's a misconception that sometimes people have about what I do. I can't heal you, but I can support you. I can provide tools and resources so that you can heal yourself. And I hope that you get that here if you need it. But this podcast is going to heal me. And God works in mysterious ways. The past 3 years have kicked my ass, to say the least. There have been a lot of physical deaths in my family. People that I love very dearly have transitioned. There have been a lot of relational deaths in my life. People that I thought would take a long journey with me didn't. There have been parts of myself that have died, and I'm still grieving certain parts of myself. There has just been a lot of death in different forms in my life. And we all know that when death occurs, rebirth has to take place, right? But I'm human. And so I'm utilizing this podcast as a space where we can just exist in our humanness, right? I know that when we go out into the world, we have to be certain people and do certain things. But I want to utilize this podcast as a space and a place where we can just embrace our humanness, y'all. That right there is liberating. That is freedom. Oh, shit, that's freedom, okay? Because where can we go and just be ourselves, whatever it is in that moment? And so I know that this podcast is going to heal me because, you know, y'all are my folks, y'all are my people, and sharing stories. It's so powerful to share a story. You know, with my clients, people think that I do a lot of therapy. I don't. I simply provide safe spaces where my clients can share their stories, and that's healing within itself. So my hope is that here together as a collective, we can heal ourselves where healing is needed, that we can heal generations, and that we can continue to pave the way for those who are coming, right? We deserve to do that from a healthy, whole, and divine place. Okay. So I might get a little emotional sometimes, but that's all right because that's natural. All right. So a little bit about my journey and what has led me to this place. I am the only child, y'all. I do not have any siblings. I spent a lot of time alone when I was growing up because my mom worked a lot and my dad wasn't in the household. So I spent a lot of time just playing with my imagination. I have always played with imagination and creativity, which has been my saving grace in a lot of ways, right? My saving grace. But I learned how to internalize a lot. I've always been very different. And so if everybody was going right, I was usually the person and still am the person that is going left. And so the way that I see the world, the way that I process life, it's not traditional. If that makes any sense. It's not what we've been taught. I don't process like a lot of people. And so I have been misunderstood a lot, right? And so, yeah, this podcast is about my voice being heard, and also inspiring other people to speak their truths because during several points in my life, we almost caught the Holy Ghost. Hold on, give me a second. Let me take that in. That was a Holy Ghost moment right there. Shit. Okay. So usually this is what I'm learning. You have to be aware of what your gift is and what your purpose is in this world. And you also have to be aware of what's going to come because of your purpose and your gift, right? If you feel like you're being attacked in certain areas of your life, and spiritual attacks do happen, we're going to talk about that later. But if you feel like you are being attacked or if you are being shunned in certain areas of your life when it comes to something that you feel passionate about, it's usually because it's your purpose. Right? It's your purpose. But this is what I had to learn. It's not that I was being attacked or silenced or shunned because I wasn't valuable and because I just needed to shut up and sit down. I had to learn how to become stronger. I had to learn how to say, all right, even in the midst of adversity, I know what my purpose is, and I can no longer sit on that because my purpose is much bigger than me. Right. So usually when you are experiencing some resistance in your life as it pertains to something that you are doing, you are supposed to be doing that thing. OK, and the resistance is necessary because you got to build some muscle around that thing. You have to become stronger and wiser, and you have to learn how to plant yourself in your purpose. So the resistance is needed so that we can be stronger. So I wouldn't change a thing. But in the midst of planning this podcast and preparing for it, I thought a lot about my childhood, y'all, because our childhood gives us insight into where we are in our lives right now. So I thought a lot about my childhood as I was planning and preparing this podcast. And what came to me is that, simply put, it's time. I was quiet for a very long time. And when it comes to certain areas of my life, I still am. I'm very quiet, right? But fear is an illusion. And no matter what has happened in your past, no matter what adversities you have faced, no matter the resistance that has come your way, when it is time for you to step fully into your purpose, everything that you need, everything that you need to bring that purpose into fruition will find its way to you. And fear is only an illusion. It ain't even real. Fear ain't even real, y'all. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. And when it's time, it's time. And so I just want to encourage you as I encourage myself to, like my mama said, do it. Just do it. Don't worry about how it's all going to come together. If you take the steps forward, everything will fall into place. And I promise you that. Listen, I ain't had no easy ride. Okay. If people that know my story know it has been quite the tumultuous journey. But an elder said to me some time ago, listen to your elders now. My elder said to me a long time ago, those that have experienced the most hell usually have the most amazing journeys ahead of them. And God has a big purpose for their lives, right? So everything that we have encountered and experienced in our life is all very necessary. So I am going to be getting into some real topics. I also want to demystify any misconceptions that anyone has about me if they think that I'm perfect, right? I know sometimes people that do healing work, they get stamped with being like these angelic, perfect beings. Y'all, I be messing up. I make mistakes. I promise you, I make mistakes. I have insecurities. I doubt myself. I got a nasty attitude sometimes. Sometimes, for the most part, I like the peace, but sometimes I have a little funky attitude. Like, I'm not perfect. So I'm excited to do this podcast because I just want to show y'all me outside from doing the healing work and helping people mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Like, I just really want to share real time and real space with you all and just be myself. Because, honey, when y'all hear these stories, y'all going to be like, Jasmine. Yeah, Jasmine. I did that. But guess what? I wouldn't change it because it was all very necessary. All right. So we are here at the Beyond the Limits podcast to break down these barriers that sometimes force us and manipulate us to believe that we have to censor our amazing spirits. We are here to dig into stereotypes and to release ourselves from pressures that tell us that we have to be a certain way and do a certain thing. No, we're here to figure out what we want and how we can express that. Because guess what? Life is an experience. It's not a final destination. And when we are old and gray, and old and fine and gray, because I'm going to be fine when I'm old and gray, okay? And I know you will be too. Okay. But when we are old and gray, we deserve to look back over our lives and say, I did that. I did what I wanted to do. Was my journey perfect? Hell to the no. But was it my journey and was it amazing? And did I take the risk? And did I manifest? And did I live my dream? Yes. Like, we deserve to have that moment when we are old, fine, and gray. Okay. So take this ride with me, y'all. I love you all so very much. This podcast is dedicated to you all. This podcast is dedicated to the people that haven't given up. This podcast is dedicated to the black sheep. This podcast is dedicated to those who continue to stand tall when life told them, or when life came with its many storms. This podcast is for those who continue to move forward anyway. This podcast is for the people that have a dream, right? Even if you don't know what that dream is going to look like in real time yet, this podcast is for people that have a dream and for people who have a purpose. This podcast is for people who want to spread love in this world because we need the love. And this podcast is for our babies, those who are here and those who will come. May this podcast be a medium that makes their journey a bit lighter because of the healing and the evolution that we'll do here. All right. So before we go, I would like to ask you a question. And I would love for you to respond to this question. You can reach out to me. I am on Instagram, Jasmine Dominique _is_love. Facebook, Jasmine Dominique. YouTube, Jasmine Dominique. Website, jasminedominique.com. I would love to hear your response to this question. What would you like to tell your future self? What message do you have for your future self? All right. Take your time, ponder, and let me know. Let me know what you come up with. I love you all very much. I thank you for taking this ride with me. I'm not saying that this journey is going to be perfect. We don't, no pressure to be perfect here, but it will be real. It will be beautiful. And we're going to have a good time too. Okay. So we're not going to be talking about all serious, stuff all the time, serious topics, crime. We're going to cry sometimes. I already know, but we're going to laugh and have a good time too. You all know I love me some music. So we're going to listen to music and dance and just vibe out. And remember, the Beyond the Limits podcast is a safe space. So whenever you need that space, you can come here. I love you all so very much. This is Jasmine Dominique signing out. And remember to live beyond the limits because the limits are merely illusions. See you soon.